I've had my Harvey Table Saw for almost 2 full years. Question is, would I still recommend it to this day? Well, let's find out right after this. I'm Rick, and this Shut the heck up, you stinking roosters. You're down up for your sanity. This is the shack. Hello and welcome back to the shack. Yes, I've had this Harvey Table Saw for almost 2 full years. Purchased it actually on Cyber Monday of 2020. Went down to the warehouse and changed what I had originally purchased to another style. And that's where it all began. So I'm going to kind of go over from the beginning to end and go through the things I have changed, modified, update, whatever you want to call it, for my personal preference. Not saying that it's going to be for everybody, but there are some things that I would like to see incorporated in Harvey Table Saws down the line. And I think they have taken some steps to rectify some of the things that I've had issues with. And I see them changing things, and possibly even the next generation, not this generation of 2023. They've already made some changes, but possibly in 2024, incorporating and changing a few things, but we'll see. So with that, let's just dive right in and reposition the camera. We're going to go from the beginning to the end, everything I've added, changed, modified, updated, to get it to the final product I have right now. Now, one of the first things I did as soon as I got this out of the packaging, took the bolts out that held it to the pallet, when I set it on the ground, it was very, very wobbly. I don't have the smoothest and most level floor around. It's pretty bad. I got some good dips in certain spots. So when I read the manual, it simply said, use wooden shims, shim it. And I got a little slack from people about this, but when you're spending $3,000 on a tool, the last thing you want to do is use some cheap wood to shim it. You know, you need a better system than that. So I did a lot of research, looked around, and for me, the best situation was these L bracket levelers. The L hangs underneath the ledge here, sets on it. I drilled out the 4 holes, put my 1/4-20 bolts in, and I kept it away from the radius here, the corner. So when it got flat, that's where I started it here. So it's flat right here, not nowhere around the radius. On the sides versus front and back, because I didn't want to be able to kick him in the front working, so I thought the side would be the best. I will have a link in the description. If you want anything like this, you can check them out. Purchase them for yourself if need be. When Jack Shu and the Harvey team from China was over here, they came to my shop. And one thing he did say, he looked at this, he liked it, and they took pictures of it and says, that's a good idea, that's a good idea. Hopefully, somewhere down the line, they incorporate some type of a good leveling system to their cabinet saws. The L-bracket levelers came black. I used 1/4-20 bolts. I bought these caps online. I have to go look. I may be able to link that in my description below if you want to look for something like that. I just looked for bolt caps. I've ordered 12 of them. I think I ordered 20 in case some of these ever pop off. I got extras to replace them with. But simply 1/4-20 caps, covered it up. Looks nice, looks good. Almost looks factory, but preferably I would like these on the inside. I would like that much better because it would keep this smooth outer look, which I like. But this, to me, solved my issue because my particular table saw, I have the dovetail trunnion one, which is a little bit heavier, but I also added an additional cast iron wing because I have a 52-inch table saw. The first extension wing is cast iron, then the next 2 are phenolic, but I opted for 1 extra one, so that's extra weight. This table saw is pushing 500 plus pounds because of that extra cast iron wing. So it's not light. This, to me, was the better option. Shimming it with wood would just, over time, vibration of this, even though it's minimal, it's still got a little vibration. Wearing on that wood, compressing that wood over time, that's just not an option to me. This was the only way to go. This is my vintage Atlas table saw. This came from my stepfather's cabinet shop. Best I could figure out, late 50s, maybe early to mid 60s, somewhere around there. But this is where the switch was. Yeah, it's been modified because it's not the original. Nothing's original, not really too much, except for the inners. They are all completely been rebuilt. I actually found the last two bearings for the tilt and stuff in Illinois or Ohio, somewhere back there, Indiana somewhere, from the factory numbers. Now you have to go with different numbers and maybe even have to go to the machine shop and have the area widen maybe a little bit to be able to fit a newer bearing. But yeah, the original bearings, original numbers, I got the last two, lucky me. So this been completely rebuilt. The trunnion is really nice, but this is where the switch is. Raise lower, tilt is on the left, raise lower here. Switch is on this side. So let's walk over here and I'm going to show you the Harvey. Now this is my Harvey. Originally, right here is the opening for the wire that went in to the motor. The switch was actually mounted right here, right in the way of your tilt wheel. So I had to reach around, and plus using that table saw, I was very familiar with the power switch over here. Many times working, I would actually hit the switch that was sitting here, shut the motor off right in my mid-cut, have to sit there, wait for it to stop, pull the material back a little bit, turn it back on, and continue my cut. So I had to move it because it was just driving me nuts, and I'm more familiar with it over here, but I did not like it in the way here. That to me didn't flow good. It was in my way. I'll have links to all these videos, the things that I've done up here, or check in the description. You're better off going down there because I can only put like 3 or 4 videos up in the, whatever they call that up there. So what I did, I disconnected the wire, pulled it out, and got a little cap, half-inch cap. I got it at, I think, Home Depot, painted it black, snapped that on there. You can't even hardly see it. Drilled me a new hole here, ran my lines through here, and reattached the wires to the motor. So I rewired it over to here. Now this sticks out a little bit too far, only because this is the only place I had to mount it. I have to get a piece of plate metal and extend the bracket back a little bit further to get it out of the way. But this is where I like it. This is where I am more familiar with it. This is the way I like it better. So all I did was remove all the numbers, and I just have the name Alpha. That's all I needed, and I just put the hole right above it. That hole was here, so I went straight across. It'd be here, so I opted just to raise it up. Still had plenty of cable. Didn't shorten it, didn't do anything to the motor because the motor has to go tilt to the 45 and back. Still had plenty of line for that, didn't do anything. So I think this is a better setup, even hung at the warehouse. When I first went down and purchased this and I was talking to him about it, he even agreed he didn't like it there. It should be over here. So I don't know if they'll ever change that. I don't like it right in the way of the handles. It needs to be off to the side, out of the way. So that's a personal preference I chose to do. Now the next thing I want to talk about is, again, more of a personal preference. I went to the AWFS convention in Vegas. Harvey unveiled a couple of new items, and that was their very first time at the convention there. And I was talking with Jack Shu, the owner, CEO of Harvey Industries, and they came out with a new fence. Now the old fence is fine. I mean, basically this is the rail right here for the vintage, and it's just set on the rail and has like these little plastic guides that sits on, kind of rides on. But after 50 years, they're all worn off, and I'm sure I can find something to replace it. I just haven't, because that I mainly use with jigs and stuff for that old table saw. I didn't use it much with the fence. The one thing I didn't like about the fence that came with this, and that's with all the fences, I'm not a fan of the high-low. I like just a traditional fence, and I like the ability to be able to put jigs over it to use. So now with the high-low fence, that takes away from that, and I don't use it. I ain't never used a high-low. I don't have a need for it. Just give me a good fence. So now all the jigs I make have to run in the miter slots. I can't use any on that. So with that, because the traditional fences on table saws, you can't get a precision cut and get a repeatable precision cut, meaning one thing that Incra has in their advertisement, you cut a piece of wood at 2 inches, at 3 inches, and at 5 inches. You put the 2 to 3 inches on top of each other against the 5 inch, it is dead flush. It is exact. You cannot get that result with a traditional table saw fence. You can't. Harvey came out with a new fence system, a completely redesigned, which I absolutely love. And I'll tell you in a little bit why I'm actually thinking about upgrading to that one and getting rid of the Incra. So the table saw fences themselves are okay, but a lot of them have the lock for the fence sticking out here. So when I would move, I was always hitting it. Now my 1950s, actually I'm going to reset this camera and show you. This 1950s fence didn't stick out. They had some actual good ideas on this that somehow the manufacturers got away from, but Harvey is actually coming back to some of the older stuff. The ideas were actually better. So I don't know why they changed the design of that god ugly fence with that massive bar sticking out here. That was a nut catcher, man. That's ruining your boys, or you walk by and hit yourself all the time. That was no bueno, man. So that's why one reason I chose to get rid of it and upgrade to Incra, plus the fact that I get the repeatability, the accuracy out of this versus a traditional fence. So let me show you this real quick. Now this is the fence on the vintage Atlas. You lift it up, you move it. And actually right here is a micro adjustment. And again, you're talking late 50s, early to mid 60s. And when you clamp it down, it pulls from the opposite end. It clamps that side, pulling it in versus clamping here. And you have the other end can actually flex. This locks in down there, which Harvey has brought back. And now the new fence clamps down there and here, keeping this very, very rigid and straight. But see this, that's as far as it sticks out, right there. This almost locks flush. So Harvey, the new one, actually this is up top here. So you pull it to release it, move it. When you lock it down, you push it down, lock it. The handle no longer sticks out the back. That's innovative, and I like that. They are on the right track. So back over to the Incra, I'm going to show you something that I don't like and I'm tired of. Now on the right end of my table saw, this is where the Incra kind of sticks out. So I have to walk around here. The problem is when I have this back and I'm cutting, I can't tell you how many times I've run into this stupid thing. I get so mad about it. It's like a major nuisance. Plus, if you look at all this that's on here, it's kind of gaudy. I really like a more smooth, clutter-free look. This is just, it drives me nuts sometimes. So I usually have to kick it in about that far and leave it so I keep this open when I'm walking back and forth. It just becomes a pain in the butt a lot of times. I think that Harvey, with their new Big Eye fence design, they were on the right track. I think one little change would completely revolutionize the fence system like Incra did back in the day. I think if Harvey does it right and does something to their new fence, add one little more upgrade to it, it will completely revolutionize the fence system and probably put Incra out of business. Now, I will keep the Incra on my router table. That I use because I love doing the dovetail joints and stuff. And that's very useful in that application. So I will keep it. Plus, this is on the cabinet where I won't even, it's cabinet's long enough so when this is at its further point, it's still not past the cabinet, so I won't be walking around hitting it all the time. So it's definitely a worthy thing to have on the router table. On your table saw though, I am having second thoughts, and I am seriously thinking of getting rid of it because I am very tired of running into this thing every time I walk around. And if you're limited on space, sometimes you can't even have this because you don't have enough room for this if you have a small garage or something. It's a good thought, but it can definitely be refined, and I think it'd be a whole lot better. And Harvey, I think, is on the verge of taking that market away from Incra. I think they're very, very close. But I still like my Incra. I still use it, but I am getting tired of it, basically. We're going to talk about dust collection, and that will finish everything that I have done to my Harvey table saw. Now, when I was doing my checklist, and one thing was I wanted above blade dust collection. And at that time when I purchased this, Powermatic didn't even have it. Laguna, the other ones, I wasn't sure if Grizzly had it, I don't remember now. They may or may not, I don't remember. Powermatic didn't, and I think people were complaining about Lagunas at the time. It wasn't working that well. I have never had an issue. I get very, very little. I'd say 90+% of dust is all taken away. And basically when I do get more up here, I'm shaving just a little bit off a piece of wood. So if I got wood going like this, cutting both sides, it usually takes it up. And I'll have a link to a quick little video. You can see I have a sliver sitting here and it gets sucked right up. So that shows you the suction I get out of the above part of the dust collection. But if I just have a piece of wood here, I'm shaving off a 1/16 or something, maybe I got to square it up or just taking a 32nd off at a time, trying to get that perfect fit. I'll get more out here because there's really nothing here to help it go up or get sucked down. I'll get more that way. But as long as I have a piece of wood on both sides, I'm cutting it down, ripping it down. I say 90+% gets picked up. I get very little down underneath. But I've noticed the last project, I've gotten a little bit more than normal, and I haven't opened the cabinet yet, but I'm going to show you I had to actually modify the dust collection below, and it's something that Harvey has addressed and taken care of, and I'll explain more. So let's go down below over here, and I'm going to open this up and show you. Well, I thought it was going to make a liar out of me. I opened it up and look at all the dust there. It's from my last project. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't, what's going on? Why am I getting this much dust down here? Well, I noticed right there. Let me readjust the camera and show you. Yeah, now I know why I lost dust collection. Well, can you see it? With my stick here, I don't want to get in the way. See right there? My hose is completely off my duct. Now I know why I lost so much dust collection. Ay, what a mess I got to clean up now. Oh my goodness. Oh well. So I must not have tightened that when I redid this. So that might have been on for a while now. I still get decent dust collection. So if this came off and I still had that suction getting that little sliver off my above dust collection, that's pretty stinking good. So anyway, let me readjust camera and I'm going to show you the piece I modified in here and tell you what they have done with their newer models. Now, one thing I didn't like, originally this hose was connected right here. And it would come down and it was riding right on this junction box. This is the electrical for the motor, was sitting right on that, and it was pushed off the side and came down and around. So after a couple of months, I sat here and I decided I'm going to take a day, I'm going to figure something out. And I used, I think, 2-inch pipe, I forget what it was. And I fabricated this. I cut these angles. I put them together with JB Weld when it was dry. I sanded it all smooth and painted it all black. So this I had to heat up to expand it to get it over the connector for the dust collection. But now it comes over, shoots off and then down. So I actually have maybe about 1/8 of an inch gap right here, and it just misses. I went through all the work just to get it away. Now, when I was at the convention in Vegas in July of 2023, this whole thing had been shot off to the side, and now you connect this way and it automatically goes around. Even Hung, when I first looked at this table saw, we both said, I don't know as far as production wise, but we're thinking if this could be simply turned, not even a 180, just turn this where it's facing like this, just turn it down to about here. That way this can go down and go around and be fine. For a good 1.5 years, this is what I've had, because the first few months I kept it normal, and then I took a couple days, and I just decided I wanted to do this because it was just gnawing at the back of my mind. I couldn't live with it. I had to change this because I didn't want this riding on there. Plus I had plenty of hose here, and as you see right here, this is the power cord for this that I moved from over there to here, so I got plenty of cord. I didn't cut none of it off, I just left it. So when this tilts out here, it's got plenty of cord still, and this completely gets out of the way. I mean, everything works so much better now with my few little changes. Before I talk about the safety aspect, there's one more thing I want to touch on that I haven't touched on yet. Most of your table saws have the traditional style trunnion, where it pivots off of one thing, and it tilts up, tilts down. So it's almost in a circular motion. If it could tilt all the way, it'd just make a circle. I had a job, I was doing machining work for 1.5 years, 2 years, I forget how long I was there. So I have a little experience in tolerances, and I kind of understand the dovetail system. The end mill that I worked on when I was doing a little bit of machining was on a dovetail system. The table set on the machine was a dovetail, slid back and forth. So when I went in and talked to Hung about the dovetail trunnion system versus the traditional trunnion system, I like this mainly because of that machinist mindset. The tolerances are just as close, if not even sometimes better, than the modern CNC machines. I mean, they're just fantastic. Yes, it's all hand dialed. You're not going to get the accuracy as a computer CNC, but the tolerances are just unbelievable. So with that in mind, I couldn't say no to the dovetail trunnion system, because now, instead of that arc going like this, straight up and down, that's what the dovetail trunnion does. It just moves straight up and down. Not that there's going to be a lot of deflection, but if your pivot point is here and it's going up and down, you have, and it's exaggerating, you can have deflection, you can have variances at the very end. So it can move like this, but here it's solid because this is where your pivot point is, but way out here, it can flex back and forth in theory. They're still very solid. 50-plus-year-old here is the old trunnion style, and it works fine. But in a machinist mindset, understanding close tolerances, I liked the fact that this doesn't pivot. There's no chance of deflection because now you're on 2 posts, riding up and down. There is no chance of this wavering any way, shape, or form. It is solid up and down. So that's why I chose this. After looking at it, I like this design. And that's another thing. What type of systems do the other table saws offer? Still traditional. See, already Harvey was being innovated and came out with a completely redesigned trunnion system that I think is fantastic. Now, safety aspect. As long as this guard stays on, you got a 90% chance of not having an accident. There's always a little chance something may happen depending on what's going on. 90% you're not going to get hurt. If you watch any of the videos, people getting hurt on the table saw, having those table saw accidents, they don't have a guard on. Now, as a teenager, I started going to my stepfather's cabinet shop, weekend, summer stuff, and I learned a few things there. I was taught by very professional people, and it held and was ingrained in me to this day. We didn't have none of this stuff on there. 1960s table saw. There was no such thing as safety equipment on it. The blade was right there, open, ready to take your fingers off at any given moment if you were stupid enough to let it do so. Now, I'm not saying that to be cocky or nothing. That's just the way my mindset. If you get caught, that's your own stupidity. You know better. Don't have an accident. Basically, I'm feeding material in a cabinet shot. You got sheet goods, so a full sheet, you're on this end, way out here, and you're pushing against fence, guiding it through. Once this full sheet's cut down, then you come over and you're cutting the material down for the dimensions you need. So if I'm cutting on this side, you have no guard here. I'm pushing the material through. When my material passes the blade, I'm here. I was kind of taught you just kick it off to the side to your left, kind of knocks this piece of wood over a little bit. You push this through, you come back here, now you sidestep over, come up here, you grab the material, you push off to the left to get away from the blade, then you grab it and come back and you set it. Or you just get over here and push it off there, walk around and grab it from the cutoff table on the other side. On the fence, because we didn't have all this, just a normal fence, I was taught with my pinky and my other finger, they would always wrap around the fence. The thumb, first finger, because the fence wasn't this high, it was lower, so I could wrap my fingers around there. I would push the material with my thumb, it'd be pushing it, this finger would be pushing it down. Push through, all the way through, I come back, grab this side, or if it's back over there, walk around and grab it. Don't go near it. In my early videos, when I still had the vintage table saw, when I had it close to the blade here, people freaked out like, man, you're going to get your finger cut off, you're going to do this. Well, I told them, this is how I run my fingers on the fence. So as I go through, I had kept my fingers going until I got there and kicked it out, come back. Never take my hand off this till I'm all the way through, and I kicked it out. Then I lifted my hand up and come over. Certain procedures, certain things that I would do that were ingrained in me young, and I hold true to them today, and I still got all of these. Personally, bandsaw, router table, to me are more dangerous than this. But I've never had an incident with the table saw, only because I have to give it up to the professionals that taught me when I was in my teen years how to do it, what to do, follow procedure, don't waver from them, because then you will have an accident. So I was very strict on what I had to do as far as doing all the cutting of the sheet goods. Cut them down this way, that you never get near. That blade, you never get near. You get near that blade, you're going to lose a finger. And that's on you, because we told you otherwise. And I have been tired, and my mind just is everywhere else. And I've learned when that happens, I get away from power tools. I go in the house, relax, do something. I can't be out here if I'm tired. That's when I'm going to have an accident. I can't be out here if I'm trying to think of everything else. I'm got 40 steps ahead of myself. No, I got to be focused here, because this is where the accident will happen, and I don't want that to happen. So yeah, I have to be very restrict. I have to really follow guidelines of myself and stop, take a breath, step back, okay, no, I'm too tired. I can't do this. As much as I got to get this done, I'm going to go to bed, get up early in the morning, and do it then. I'm just too tired right now. And you have to do that sometimes, just the way it is. I could not see spending the extra money for technology that I've never had growing up, was never taught on growing up, but I see that if I had an educational system where I had kids or people coming in learning to do woodworking, I think that is a necessity, because they are learning. You got this on here, you should be fine. When I was in the market for table saw, they were still having some issues. A lot of people complain if the material was a little wet, going through, too much moisture, boom, shut it down, ruin it. That wasn't even on my list, and that just threw saw stop right out. When I looked at the price on Powermatic, nope, too much. Plus they didn't have a 52-inch, they only had a 50-inch, and they had no above blade dust collection. So it was basically down to Laguna, Harvey, I think General, and Grizzly. And again, Grizzly, I think they are allowing themselves to falter a little bit. I think they just need to bite the bullet and kind of get a little more quality in. But they're still okay. I mean, they're really a budget entry-level type of a saw, I would say. So that went to the side. And when it came down to it, it was Harvey or Laguna. And this was actually $400 cheaper than Laguna because they put in a digital tilt readout for the blade. I got woodpecker tools that are very precise that I could sit here, dial it to the 45, set it for 33.5, 32.25, whatever I want. I got precision tools that will put it right where I need it. I don't need to spend $400 for a readout when 96% of the time the blade's this way. Very rarely do I use the tilt. So I didn't need to spend $400 or something. I don't use that often. So that's it. I'm sorry, a little bit long. After everything was said and done, everything I've done, the upgrade has made this very customizable, personable to me. I kind of like my Incra, but I'm getting tired of it. So that may be coming off and going back to a traditional style. As much as I hate going there because I like the repeatability and the precision I get out of this, I'm just getting tired of the clutter up here, of this massive thing, and I'm getting tired of getting bruised hips from hitting the stupid thing down there all the time. But overall, I like my table saw, and I would highly recommend Harvey in a heartbeat. I love the table saw I got. I absolutely love my bandsaw, the Alpha bandsaw that I got. I don't have anything bad to say about them because they are still innovating. They are getting better. They're trying different things. They're listening to customers. And that goes a long, long way in my book. So if you have any doubts, don't. I would highly suggest, highly recommend Harvey. I don't think you can go wrong. And if you want to spend $1,000, $2,000 more for Powermatic just because it's got a new black coating top, give Harvey about another year or so and they may have that new coating or new top out by then. They're working on it now, but they want to perfect it before they put it out. And I like that. They're doing some tests now. They said they're really working on getting something that is slick, almost like the carbon coat, the carbon method stuff, and has longevity. Harvey's being innovative. They're still going ahead and they're trying to get the best product possible. Definitely give Harvey a second look. Give them some serious considerations. I don't think you can go wrong. Unfortunately, everything's inflated right now with the prices and just it's all nuts. If you're going to bite the bullet and go ahead and purchase something come Cyber Monday, Black Friday, definitely give Harvey a second look before you make that decision. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed. Take back check for your sanity. Yeah, it's been long. I know. I got nothing else. See you next video.